Evening, everybody. We'll commence meeting for the 4th of September 2022. It's a special council meeting. Firstly, we acknowledge the Whyalla people, the traditional owners of the land on which we meet today, and pay our respects to the elders past and present, and extend that respect to other Aboriginal and Torres Strait Island people who are present today. Okay, so we have attendance records, and we do have some apologies for this evening from Councillor Santuzzi, Councillor Pond and Councillor Marshall. Thank you. Item 3, declaration of members' conflict of interest. If there are any, can you please let me know? No, there are none. Thank you. Item 4, reports to council officers. 4.1, corporate services. Okay, we have 2 items tonight. The first one is 4.1.1, the extension of the current dry zone. What I'll do is I'll just ask the CEO if he wants to speak to this at all.
Thank you, Mayor. So this matter has been discussed now for a little bit of time through the Whyalla Leadership Group, which comprises, was chaired by SAPOL, but has representatives from a number of key agencies that provide services and support to our community, and particularly in situations or circumstances where alcohol features in terms of the behaviour and some of the challenges some of our community members have. So there's been some feedback from the community more broadly about some of the undesirable or antisocial behaviour that's been occurring in and around the Westland Shopping Centre, particularly since Port Augusta introduced some changes to their liquor retail arrangements. And as the report identifies, we have seen situations where people are actually coming to Whyalla from Port Augusta to purchase large quantities of alcohol, and in some instances consuming that alcohol on and around the Westland Shopping Centre precinct. So this has all sort of come to a head recently with the Commissioner for Liquor Licensing actually meeting with all of the retailers and licensees in the city about a week or so ago to discuss the options of introducing some restrictions on the sale/purchase of alcohol, and as a result of that, council has also expressly received a request to extend the dry zone area, which is currently over the Civic Park Schiltz Reserve area, and extending that to include the larger Westland Shopping Precinct. The key thing to note is that the Westland Shopping Precinct is actually not owned by council, it's private ownership. So we have reached out to the owners of the land and their property managers, and one of the documents that have been tabled tonight is a letter of support from the landowner and a good number of the tenants within the shopping precinct. So that's the background. As I said, it's come to a head reasonably quickly, and the Commissioner has seen the need for the restrictions to be introduced, which have come into effect from today. The matter that's before council is the associated matter, which is the extension of the dry zone to enable the police to be able to enforce and manage the new restrictions as they relate to the Westland Shopping Precinct. Happy to respond to any questions.
Yeah, thank you for that explanation. Councillor Mark.
I'm in favour of it, and I have spoken to a lot of people about this who also seem to be, I'm not having any negatives to it from anybody, but I'm just curious to know a few issues. The Whyalla Leadership Group, are the local Whyalla people represented on that leadership group?
The They would be both directly and indirectly. I couldn't tell you who the elder is, but we do know that there are the likes of Narunga Health Service that provide direct services to Whyalla, sorry, my apologies.
Plaza Youth, Jo, who runs Plaza Youth, she is part of the leadership group as well.
Okay, that's the first question. The second question is, did the leadership group prompt the action that's been taken by the commissioner, or did the commissioner do this on his own volition?
I believe it would be more the latter. However, in saying that, I'm sure the commissioner would be receiving intel from the likes of SAPOL across the state, and has obviously been actively monitoring the introduction of the restrictions at Port Augusta, and also Sajuna, and other locations, and looking at the consequences and the benefits being derived from the restrictions in other locations. So there certainly would have been a watching brief for some time, but I'm not sure whether SAPOL would have provided a direct request to the commissioner to introduce these restrictions.
The last question is, are the local bungalow community in favour of it? Have they been consulted?
As I said, I don't know whether the actual elders of the bungalow, sorry, I'll go back one step further. I don't know whether the bungalow determination, Aboriginal Corporation, thank you, BDAC. I know the acronym, but I don't know whether the commissioner himself would have contacted BDAC direct. The introductions of the restrictions are largely being driven by the commissioner. The matter that's before us tonight as a council is the dry zone and the extension of the dry zone. If I could say that a shopping centre car park or the shopping centre itself is not an appropriate place to be consuming alcohol, as just a general statement, and certainly not excessive quantities of alcohol. So I don't believe that the bungalow elders would have concerns with the extension of the dry zone, given that statement.
And then just around just the management of behaviour as well. Okay, any other questions? Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, I guess my main concern, and I agree, I'm not against the concept, is that we've been rushed into it, a decision has been made, and I can see elements of the community saying, well, why weren't we consulted? My only concern is that we can probably expect some flack from certain elements of the community who believe they should be consulted, and that's my only downside of it. The fact that we've been rushed to this, I agree with it, but I would have liked to seen us be able to go to the community first to say, this is perhaps what we're looking at, instead of now I find out we've gone ahead with it. It's my only concern.
Through the Mayor, acknowledge that comment, Deputy Mayor. I think the key thing here is that there's two elements to this. The introduction of restrictions is purely the responsibility of the Commissioner. Council is not making the decision about the introduction of the restrictions. So the consultation that we would potentially have undertaken is, do the community at large agree with an extension of the dry zone to cover the consumption of alcohol on the Westland shopping centre precinct? And as I said before, I think most people would come to the conclusion that that's not an appropriate place to be consuming alcohol / large quantities of alcohol.
And I think also the acknowledgement from Savills and also the support from the tenants in regards to this being put through, I think is testament to probably the need. Okay, Councillor Simpson.
My recollection on social media over the last couple of years is the fact that the people, they're all bagging the fact that it's not a safe place to shop because of alcohol. being consumed outside. So I think the public would be looking forward to this.
Right. There are no other questions. Councillor Knox, do you have another
I'll just
question?
make a recommendation.
Yeah, I was going to say there's no more questions, so Councillor Knox is moving the recommendation. Who would like to second it for Deputy Mayor Stone? Show of hands, all those in favour? Carried, thank you. Right. See how, look forward to some feedback on the results of this, I suppose, they'll bring some feedback as to the, yeah. Okay. Item 2, which is 4.1.2, to commemorate the life of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. I can potentially read the recommendation is up on the screen there. Would anyone like me to read that to you? Obviously, this is to pay our respects to Her Majesty, before she passed away recently. The council, has put a recommendation forward, and I think I will read it. Express its deepest condolences to the royal family and all members of the Commonwealth for grieving the loss of a mother, grandmother, great-grandmother, and a monarch for over 73 years. To support the following activities to commemorate the life and service of Queen Elizabeth II and the Queen's special connection with the city of Whyalla. A, the flags will be flown at half-mast to honour and commemorate the life and service of Queen Elizabeth II in line with the Australian national flag protocols. B, commemorative books will be placed in 4 locations throughout the city of Whyalla for residents to record their condolences to the royal family. These locations are the Civic Building, Whyalla Public Library, Whyalla Childcare Centre and the Visitor Information Centre. A remembrance page will be established through the Council's web page with photographs and articles from the Queen's visit in 1954 and also 1986, sharing the link from the Australian Government Department of Prime Minister and Cabinet. This link will be interactive, asking for residents to share their experiences and photographs from the 1954 and 1986 visits. And approached the Mount Laura Homestead Committee to curate a display covering Queen Elizabeth's special relationship with Whyalla in 1954 and 1986. Council could support this by promoting visitation to over the coming weeks. And finally, that we are grateful for Queen Elizabeth's leadership over the past 70 years, as well as the visits to Whyalla in 1954 and 1986, which were special moments in our city's history. Councillor Knox?
Just want to make mention of the fact that we've got 70 monarch for over 73 years. That's 70 years. She became monarch on the 6th of February 1952 and 1922.
And jubilee.
So that's 70 years.
Yeah, that's changed. Thank you.
Happy to move it with that change.
Thank you.
I have an additional comment through the chair.
Yes.
Although the recommendations are presented in the report, there is scope for additional commemorative actions. And I might share that members of the public have been calling, asking where they could leave flowers, for example. And I did hear that a number of flowers were being left on Queen Elizabeth Drive. And I would recommend that we look at formalising something like that, or any other thoughts that people have.
I was thinking, thank you, Irene, I was thinking that too today, that we need to have a place, etc. So we have a spot in the city for those people that do want to pay respects. So I don't know whether to do something down at Ada Gardens potentially. The potential spot. Any comments from any of the
Can I make a comment? When the Queen died, an announcement was made that in lieu of flowers, make a donation to a charity. That was loud and clear. I know people have gone delivering flowers and things out, And I have no real issue with that, but it is against the wishes of the Queen.
But I think there's thousands of people in England that do with flowers, so. But I still think we need to have options. I think that needs to be acknowledged too, but I think having a place where any councillors have any suggestions, or perhaps we just need to put in there that we will.
Well, she did have dinner in this building, so maybe we could have the flowers out front.
The Prime Minister and Cabinet information Q&A today talked about in lieu of flowers, but when people have been asking where they can, because they have flowers that they want to place
We
potentially.
need to have it somewhere more central though in the city, I think, than perhaps here, so that people who don't have cars can actually perhaps get public transport there quite easily, or
Well, I think with something like this, normally when you leave flowers, you leave them somewhere that it is very appropriate. Now, the only signage I can think of is up at Hammock Hill, but we've got two plaques. You've got the plaque up on Hammock Hill, which is harder to get to.
Yeah.
But you've also got the plaque down at the foreshore.
that's what I was thinking, like down at the foreshore.
Yes, so whether they were used.
I think the foreshore's
I mean, the signage going up to Hammock Hill, I did see on TV. There was a bunch of flowers there, but that's probably the dangerous spot to be encouraging people. So whether we can highlight the plaque at the foreshore
Yeah, I think that's what I was
as being an appropriate one, which is easy, certainly easier to get to than making people drive up the top of Hammock Hill.
one I was thinking of down here. Front of the.
Until
It's not here.
should still be there.
I think it's. So, right, do we want to add another,
Did we want to talk about it, or are we happy with it?
add another point in there that we,
Maybe we just add that a designated area for the planting of flowers, the area adjacent to the plaque at the foreshore.
Saying that you said about public transport, adding public transport in the foreshore. It should be here and the foreshore. I think.
What if you
so we could say at the two, at the foreshore.
Mayor and councillors, I suppose, just wanted to ask the question, or two questions. One is, does council want to purchase some flowers and a wreath, noting the express desire of the royal family to provide a donation to a charity? And the second question is, do we need to indicate that when council may remove those flowers after the funeral, and what we might do with other items that are potentially put there? I understand in other places, a whole heap of, jam sandwiches and bears and things have started to turn up, and
I think
how we
it's,
might deal with
yeah.
that if that arises.
I think you can only control so much, we can protect it so much. We've had other things before left for other commemorative events, and we just got to trust that people take care of, can respect what's left and so forth.
Alternatively, we talk to our community that the Queen's wishes are in fact for you to make donations to local charities such as Food Bank and others. So it doesn't need to be large amounts of money, but could actually be goods.
How about we could probably on our Facebook page put up there that was the request. I think if there's no particular location that perhaps hasn't been already established in the city as such, where there's a large volume. There's nothing at this point, is there? But there's a large volume of flowers being left. Anyone knows that? So,
If I may, without entering the debate, my concern is as soon as you create a designated area, there'll be then create an expectation that people put flowers there, so it almost becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
We could revisit number E there, literally. take out the and and just say, noting that it's the Queen's wishes, the very last word is the and. Noting that it was the Queen's wishes that donations to charities be made rather than allowing others. Yeah, it's Her Majesty's wishes.
I can fix that. Wishes,
Her Majesty's wishes.
yeah, I can go back and fix it. Donation,
Her Majesty's wish that donations be made to charities rather than the laying of flowers.
I think what people feel when they lay flowers to it's for themselves to grieve and put it down, it's an emotional experience for them, and just kind of think, yeah, that's probably the lines, it's such a popular thing to people be involved and show the picture. So we'll just keep an eye on this, I think, and if we need to, if some area starts to sort of lost the spot, then I suppose we can, from a council, we can just communicate with the community through our social media. And potentially, if there is a site that's starting to occur.
There's an E in foreshore as well.
Yeah. So, details on that. Okay. So we're happy to have that as at the foreshore as the designated spot that we think. Yeah. Okay. Right.
I'm happy to second that.
Yeah, so councillor Knox has moved that and Deputy Mayor Stone has seconded that. Thank you. And I'll ask for a show of hands, all those in favour? Okay, that's carried. Thank you. Right, so that's is the completion of the meeting, as we have no consideration of confidential items. So now I would declare the meeting closed at 5:53 p.m. Thank you.